So today, we're going to dig into something that's, fundamental to our digital lives. How do we reclaim our privacy? And by doing that, reclaim our power. Let's get into it. It's kind of weird when you think about it, right? There's this huge paradox in modern life. We are so careful about protecting our physical world. We lock our doors, we insure our cars, we guard our bank accounts like hawks. And yet, when it comes to our digital selves, we just hand over the keys to the kingdom. Our thoughts, our habits, our attention, all of it just given away to systems we have absolutely no control over.
And somehow, we've all just kind of accepted this. We just call it normal. But is it? I mean, really, when you stop and think about that question, it kind of stops you in your tracks.
So that brings us to our first big idea here, the unnoticed trade-off. See, somewhere down the line, convenience just became permission. We basically swapped our sovereignty for a little more speed, and we traded our privacy for a seat at the digital table. And the thing is, it happens so slowly, bit by bit, that most of us never even pause to figure out what the true cost was.
And this is the absolute crux of it. The real cost isn't just about our data being collected. Nope, it's about something way more fundamental. It's about power. And once you realize that, well, that changes everything.
Okay, so if the cost is power, how is that power even created? Well, that leads us to this idea of a new currency. And no, it's not money. It's our attention. Because at the end of the day, power flows to wherever our attention lives. And this slide, it just breaks that whole abstract idea down into a really simple three-step process. So let's walk through it. First, your attention gets captured, right? Just think about that infinite scroll on your favorite app. It's literally designed to keep your eyes glued to the screen. Then, step 2, influence is gained. The longer you watch, the more the algorithm learns about you, and it starts to subtly shape what you see and what you think. And finally, step 3, power is accumulated. Because over time, that influence, when you apply it at a massive scale, becomes real-world power. The power to sway elections, to drive markets, to shape an entire culture. That's the engine of the modern internet. And this just nails the business model perfectly. We think we're getting connection. That's the bait. But the actual product being sold is our focus, our time, our attention. And that attention is then weaponized to shape our behavior, our beliefs, and even how we see reality itself. And that's not some crazy theory. That is the very infrastructure of the web we use every single day.
So all this brings us to a really critical reframing of the whole debate. It's time to talk about privacy, freedom, and sovereignty. And the core idea here is this isn't about what you have to hide. It's really about what you stand to lose.
I mean, come on. We've all heard this one, right? It's the go-to response whenever you bring up privacy. Hey, I'm not doing anything wrong, so why should I care if somebody's watching?
But that argument completely, totally misses the point. The counter-argument is that privacy was never about hiding secrets. It is, and it always has been, about freedom. Simple as that. The freedom to just be, without being constantly tracked and measured and judged. The source material uses this incredible metaphor. Privacy is psychological oxygen. Just think about that. It's the space we need to think freely without being watched, to try something new and maybe fail without it becoming a permanent record, and to, change our minds and evolve as people. A mind that knows it's being watched behaves differently. It gets more careful, more performative, and ultimately a whole lot less free.
And that leads to the next logical question, right? A question of ownership. Who actually owns the digital infrastructure that governs how you communicate, how you work, how you exist online? Because if the answer is always someone else, then you're not really a participant, are you? You're just a renter on their property.
Okay, so what's the alternative? What do we do? Well, this brings us to the most hopeful part of this whole discussion, engineering a different future. This is all about taking these principles and actually using them to build systems that are designed from the ground up to serve people, not to exploit them.
You see, the philosophy here isn't just about building a bunch of separate, disconnected apps. It's about building a living architecture. Every single project is like a node in a bigger network, and it's designed so that each little piece makes the entire system stronger. It's systems engineering, but applied to human freedom. You're creating this resilient, interconnected ecosystem. And here are just a few quick examples of that philosophy in action. You've got Core, which is a sovereign operating system that puts you back in control of your own data. CareerAtor, a tool that helps people find jobs without having to give away all their personal info. And something like JettyBee, which is a music project that lets artists own their own infrastructure. They all share that same core idea, giving ownership and agency back to the individual. So, All of this is leading us to our conclusion. Because right now, as agentic AI starts to move from just being chatbots into the real world, we are facing a massive choice, a real fork in the road for our entire civilization.
In this slide, it lays out that choice in really stark terms. On one side, you have the path built on centralized surveillance, which the source calls digital feudalism. Yeah, it's convenient, it's efficient, but man, is it dangerous. The other path, though, is built on open, local, and auditable systems. That path leads to liberation. It's the same technology, but with profoundly different outcomes for all of us.
And I want to leave you with this final thought. The next chapter of our story isn't going to be defined by the people who are just playing by the old rules. No. It's going to belong to the builders, the people who are quietly, right now, engineering new systems that put power back where it belongs, in our hands. The people reclaiming their privacy, their ownership, and their attention. Because that's where life really happens. Thanks so much for joining us.